jobs to get you back on the road to a safe and happy car. Free towing and free estimates. Call us at 323-930-2525 or just stop by. Open Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays 8 to 2 p.m. Lucy's Tire and Wheel Center. We'll see you on the road.
89.7 KLES FM. So, let's talk about Phil Jackson. Replacing Phil Jackson is going to be a very daunting task because before Phil Jackson came to the Lakers had Dill Harris, they had Kurt Rambis, they had Irvin Magic Johnson, they had Rudy Tomjanovich, all capable men to lead the talent that the Lakers had. But all four of those men found out that today's NBA is different from when they played and when they coached when they were great. Now the rumor is the Lakers want to bring in Rick Adelman. They're interviewing Mike Dunleavy Sr. Brian Shaw obviously is somebody that the Lakers are very interested in bringing into the fold, and even Chuck Persons. But the bottom line is, nobody can coach this team. And that's why this team this season fell apart. Because basically, when you've been in the championship 3 years in a row, you have arguably the best player on the planet playing on your team, playing with the best European player on the planet on this team, playing with possibly the best big man on the planet on your team. If you cannot soothe all those egos, you cannot win. And for the first time in probably Phil Jackson's illustrious coaching career, I saw him do things that I never saw him do before. I've never seen Phil Jackson yell at his players. I've never seen Phil Jackson during timeouts pull players aside and get in their faces as he did. This team, just for some reason this season, just didn't get the message. And sometimes, coaches' messages don't, go through those ears. Sometimes you've heard the same message and you can't stand it. Ozzie Guillen is finding that out in baseball. Ozzie is a great manager. He's won a title. He was a great player. And he has, his welcome in Chicago, in my opinion, is kind of starting to wind down because people start tuning you out after they cannot receive the message that you're trying to give. And that's exactly what happened with the Lakers this season. I think the Lakers got tired of it, and basically, they played that way in the playoffs. And so, who's going to replace Phil Jackson? I think it's going to be a longer process than people think because you got to please Kobe, you got to please Powell, and you most certainly got to please Bynum. And you better know how to coach post offense because Kobe may have a few more years left in his tank, and he's probably going to go after the NBA scoring records and all this other stuff, which is great. But the future of the success of this Laker organization is in Andrew Bynum. And if the Lakers traded Andrew Bynum, they might as well become the Clippers. As far as Phil Jackson's legacy, hey, is he the greatest coach that I've ever seen or ever been around or ever met or whatever? Yeah, he is. John Wooden is a great coach. Dean Smith was a great coach. Scotty Bowman, a great coach. Bill Walsh, a great coach. What made those gentlemen great is that they got the best out of all their talent. They took the best players in high school and in professional football and professional hockey and got them to buy into their systems and won. But the big difference is all those men who I've mentioned before all had respect, all had so much more pedigree than Phil Jackson had. Phil Jackson came out of nowhere. Phil Jackson was an assistant coach sitting on a bench in Chicago under Doug Collins. And somehow, some way, brought in a man by the name of Tex Winter who taught this triangle offense. And for that man to take the talent that he has had and the temperamentalness of some of the players that he's had to coach, whether it's Tony Kukoc, Michael Jordan, whether it's Ron Artest or Dennis Rodman, and to be able to mold these people into championship players and championship teams, to buy into his system is something that genius can only do. And he is an extreme genius. To get his players to read books on the buses to games and not think about the games is something that is irreplaceable. We should all be sad, actually, that he is retiring because we're not going to see a coach like him in a long time. Coach K at Duke is great, but on the college level, it's not the same. There'll never be another NBA coach like him. Coach Thibodeau in Chicago is great, but he's no Phil Jackson. And so, as we bid a fond adieu to Mr. Jackson, I'm sure he's not hanging his head. I'm sure he's going to jump on his motorcycle and cruise Wyoming and Montana, and I'm sure that he's going to do the talk circuit and make millions of dollars being a motivational speaker, because what he has is something that this whole world needs to learn. And we will talk about the East and Boston and Chicago and Miami Heat after this on 89.7 KLAS FM.